At the very outset, I bow at the lotus feet of Sree Sree Thakur, my master and my guide, Sree Sree Bodma, Param Pujyapad Sree Sree Thakur Anukulchandra. Respected faculty, students, audience, it's a privilege and honor to be here to speak in front of you on a topic that I think I know very little of. So the disclaimer that Professor Sutanu Chakravarti actually set it out applies to me even more. So anything that I actually would speak that may be helpful for you or for any one of you, that would be purely Sree Sree Thakur's blessings. And all that I would be unable to comment properly or communicate properly, it's purely because of me. So the topic is, how do we actually we have alignment in our thoughts, words, and actions? Okay, and if not, what does actually happen if we do not have alignment in our words, thoughts, words, and actions? And how do we address it? Okay, there are negative outcomes, and we'll actually see that there are actually, mainly the negative outcomes. How do we address this? And so when we do not have alignment or discordance in our thoughts, speech, and deeds, there are actually myriads of manifestations. Okay? Some of them are jotted down here. Okay? The manifestation could be that I'm thinking that Supam actually didn't give a good talk, but I'm speaking to me is wonderful talk, even though it's the other way around. Okay? Sometimes I want to do something for myself or somebody. I really want to do, but I'm not actually able to act upon my own thought. And at times, our own actions, I say I love my wife, or I love my kid, love my son. And at the feet of my race, I do something that even surprises myself. Why did I do this? Even though I know, I thought I love my wife. So these are some of the ways that the incoherence or the misalignment of thoughts, speech, and deeds manifest. So what are the implications, repercussions, outcomes? Okay? These are broadly two types of outcomes. One, it affects actually us at a personal level. For example, I wanted to do something that was actually in my mind, and I said that I'll do to my professor, that I'll actually do it. I couldn't do, I couldn't actually act upon it. That's a personal sense of frustration, failure. Okay? And of course, it's also a feeling of stress. So there are many types of outcomes, but there are mostly negative outcomes. For example, if I really wanted to do something, I wanted to become something, and I couldn't act upon it. That's why I couldn't actually get that success. It's a sense of failure. It adds to the stress of my life. And then, because man is a social animal, I am a social animal, I actually interact with my family, outside my family, and society at large. So wherever I actually am involved, bringing in that misalignment of my words, thought, words, and actions. So these negative outcomes transpire into bigger scheme of things. So there are actually more and more related sort of chain reactions in the society. Okay. So then, for example, in spite of all that we have, that I wanted, okay, for example, one of us would actually, one of my dreams was actually to, get through the exams to be a student at IIT ISM. I'm here. Some of us actually wanted to be a faculty. We are here. Some of us actually wanted to be a research fellow. We are here. And yet, because of this, thing that we're actually talking about, because we are not able to align our heart, speech, and our actions, in spite of all that we wanted, and we have it now, then we feel stressed out, we feel shattered, we feel scattered in the life. And that is an issue that all of us experience at some point of time or the other in our life. I think it's a continuously actually we are experiencing. Sometimes we actually say it aloud, and many times we keep it to ourselves. Sorry. Is this going back? Sorry, I'm really sorry. Okay, so this is forward. Okay. So if I ask these questions, why does it happen? Okay, I say I love my son, and he does something, he says something I do not like. All of a sudden, I do something that indicates that is not indicative of love. That is indicative of actually hatred, anger. Why? Because at the root cause of it, that my views, or we actually call complexes, passions, they are not properly adjusted. That it's not that I didn't have love for my son, but also I had other feelings. I had actually hatred, I had anger, and all of a sudden they have actually come into conflict with each other. And that is why, even though I actually love my son, I still acted the way I did. So at the root of it, unadjusted or maladjusted complexes, that is the cause of the topic that we are discussing today. So this is what Sree Sree Thakur says, that if you do not have actually complexes adjusted, and so we actually become unbalanced. And the outcomes, the manifestations could be many, and some of them is actually, leading to the incoherence of thought, words, and actions. So, for example, if I do not have one of the adjustment between thought and speech, and I actually, make one mistake, it leads to many. And that's what we do. Because we tend to ignore smaller mistakes or the first mistake. As actually Sutananda actually pointed out, that what is normal? So our way of looking at normal is actually not very far of what is actually normal. And Sree Sree Thakur actually wants us, or actually he strikes us, that we actually should be in a position to adjust all our complexes so that the first mistake actually doesn't happen in the first place. Or if it happens, can we actually correct it soon? So having known that we do not actually have, most of the times actually coherence in thoughts, words, and actions, what to do? Today is the age of Google, age of artificial intelligence. Okay, so immediately we actually take out our cell phone because the internet is actually easily available. We search it, we chat GPT, right? And that's what I did. And in a jiffy, literally, within seconds, it actually tells you several ways actually that you could actually bring in the coherence of thoughts, words, and actions. So does that mean that all these recommendations, I hope I didn't press the wrong one. Okay, so all the recommendations that actually came out through ChatGPT, are they wrong? Look at it. Every one of these suggestions are actually very valid suggestions. They are not wrong. The only problem is that we do not know. We just simply do not know how to implement it. So we know the solutions, okay? But we do not know actually how to affect that solution, how to operationalize those solutions. And that's the problem that we are dealing with. So that's why, very aptly, Alexei Karen, and he was a Nobel laureate in physiology and medicines. He said, the man of science today, we are all the man of science. We know a lot about science. And we actually take pride in it. But we just do not have the, faintest idea about the science of man. And that we are dealing with. That how do we actually develop science of man so that we can bring in the adjustment of our complexes so that we don't actually feel what we feel amidst everything that we have and that we wanted. So, so the question is how do we actually bring in the adjustment of our complexes? Okay, so do we actually renounce all these, passions of, whatever passions we have, lust, desire, greed. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that if we start actually restraining or suppressing these external senses and passions without the intellectual upliftment, okay, it actually leads us to a state where we actually, this Lord Krishna himself actually says that we'll be called hypocrites because we are not actually touching at the right places. Sree Sree Thakur says the same thing. That if you try to actually subdue one of your passions, it actually gets manifested more and more because we are thinking about it. If you really actually, put those sweet pieces in front of you and you say, okay, I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat it. And time will come, even though you are not eating, you are eating them mentally. And when the moment comes, you'll overeat it. So does that mean that my greed for food is bad? Absolutely not. I need that greed. I need that sense to eat so that I can actually eat and survive. It is the measured eating, the measured amount of that passion or complex I do not have. That's why I'm overeating. I'm smoking a cigarette, even though in my thought I know it is actually injurious to my health. I'm still smoking it. In fact, the great Sant Kabir had an interesting take on this, correcting oneself. And he said, the manna rangai jogi kapda. See, that means I could actually color my wearings or clothing in this robe collar, but unless I color my mind, essentially we are talking about looking within, the intellectual upliftment. Nothing will happen. So finally he says that kanwa for economic stand, kan phadke you can actually put that kundal or jatwa badhole, dadi badhaye jogi hoyi gale bakra. So essentially he said that if you do things externally, you become a laughing stock for myself. I become a laughing stock for myself. Okay? So what's the way out? How do I adjust complexes? Eventually, it comes down to something that whether we have a center of love that we can actually adhere to, we can actually, imbibe his teachings from. So Sree Sree Thakur says dharma. And here we actually make a distinction between dharma and religion. Sree Sree Thakur actually said they are not the same thing. Dharma means actually the principles of being and becoming, life and growth. So that means as and since the time the life existed, because there are actually principles for life and growth, dharma existed. So I really want to take a moment and to actually to sink it in. So dharma is nothing but the principles of life and growth. So that means if I actually sneeze and do not actually wash my hand, and the bacteria or the virus actually that I carry in my hand, if I touch it somewhere, it actually affects my well-being, gives me a disease. That is actually adharma. It has got nothing to do with the typical ritual of, taking the flower and the water and, worshipping the God that we actually want to worship. Dharma is nothing but if I actually say something and hurt somebody, which actually affects his well-being, that is actually a dharma. So dharma encompasses everything that involves our life and growth. When I say our, it is mine as well as my environments. So that principle of being and becoming, they actually become embodied in a living ideal. Not all the ideals, but there are actually living ideals. There are ideals, and we actually call them, prophets. Okay? Prophet Christ, Prophet Lord Ramakrishna, Prophet Krishna, Prophet Ramchandra. So Sree Sree Thakur says that these principles of dharma, or the being and becoming, they're actually embodied in a living ideal. And taking the initiation or taking the center of this living ideal brings adherence. And this anurag or adherence to the living ideal brings the adjustment of complexes. So we'll talk about the role of love in our life. Why do we think that, it's a big problem that we just actually talked about, and it has, personal, social repercussions, and it's a very complicated problem, but we say that, it's a very simple solution that we need to actually bring in love for a, supreme ideal. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has actually told when Arjuna actually failed to realize the importance of the war and he was completely misdirected. That is when actually Lord Krishna said that, offer everything to me. Keep me at your center, you forget everything, all your complexes will go away, and just fight. Okay, so we'll not actually get into why the fight or the war was required, but this is also essentially looking at the same messages through different prophets, only that the throwings are actually different depending on the requirement of the race. Sree Sree Thakur says, full of love creates vigor in action and upliftment in life. So when we talk about the pool of, love and vigor in action, what does it mean? All of us have experienced the impact of love in our life. I'm sure we have actually loved someone, or we are still loving someone. It could be my father, it could be my mother, it could be my son, it could be my girlfriend, boyfriend, fiancé. All of us, actually, at some point of time, we have loved and we are still loving someone. Let's say there is something that you do not want to do, and I tell you, and I'm the one of those persons that I'm actually not loved by you. I tell you to do it. You find very sluggish. You will find all the causes for not doing it, even though it is doable. But your girlfriend says, or your boyfriend says, assuming that you love your girlfriend or boyfriend, all of a sudden you will find it's very easy. You drive all your energy towards actually, making it happen. I'm sure all of us actually have experienced in our childhood. If I actually love my father says something, it's easy. I want to do something my father and mother, anybody I love sincerely, it becomes easy. Why does that happen? That I actually am able to do something for somebody I love very easily. It could be actually a very difficult or Herculean task. At the same time, somebody else asks me to do, I find all the reasons in the world why it can be done. And that's the power of love. So the higher the ideal we place our actually love in, the better becomes our life. And this is the concept of the living ideal that Professor Chakravarti talked about a while ago. So Sree Sree Thakur said that you can actually transmute your temperament through love and adherence to a higher ideal. Okay, so we'll talk about who should be a higher ideal at the end of this presentation. And I really want you to actually look at this, teachings of Sree Sree Thakur. Sree Sree Thakur says, love alone can control everything because love is the existence, elixir of existence. Our existence. Okay? All of us will born to a loving union. So our source is actually out of love. So that's why Sree Sree Thakur says love alone. And in fact, if you actually ask all the sources, all of our sources, and that is when actually we come to the living ideal, the supreme ideal, whose love is actually boundless. So I'm actually asked to conclude the talk. Sree Sree Thakur, had people actually from all walks of life coming and visiting to him. Okay, be it very normal class such as us, and people from, for example, the science background, from economics, from journalism, and one such person, actually James Michael, he came, and while you actually living, he asked Sree Sree Thakur that, Sree Sree Thakur, could you please actually summarize your doctrine, the satsang, the principle of satsang in one or two words? Sree Sree Thakur said, be concentric. Then James Michael asked, well, concentric to whom? Sree Sree Thakur said, a higher living ideal. James Michael asked, well, Ford, I forgot it, Henry Ford. Could actually Henry Ford be my living ideal? Henry Ford is a big name then because they actually brought out these automobiles. So Sree Sree Thakur said, yes. If you actually keep Henry Ford as your ideal, you could actually become Henry Ford at the max. But you can never become Jesus Christ. And that's the difference. The higher the ideal, the higher the upliftment. So we'll just keep, this man that we all know, George Bernard. So he actually said that, beware of the man whose God is in the skies. And we just love to have actually our God in the skies because they do not conflict with our anchorings, our compassions. Because I can actually still worship the God in the sky and I can do anything that I want, knowing very well that that guy in the sky is actually not going to interfere in the way that I want to operate. That becomes easy. But that is all futile. That doesn't actually lead us to the results that we really want to get if we really, sincerely want to get some results. And these are some of the examples of the people who actually loved someone. And these are the two examples. One is Thomas Alva Edison. He actually he went to the school only for a few months and he was thrown out of the school and he was branded. I've actually written this word, adult, by the teacher in his school. Actually, the teacher actually wrote, adult actually means that, not able to think, not capable of actually thinking, confused. And his teacher actually wrote a letter to his mother saying that your son is actually adult and should not come to the school again. But Thomas Edison's actually mother homeschooled him. And we all know Thomas Edison, I hope. He's one of the greatest inventors of our time. And finally, if you look at actually study Thomas Edison's life in his biography, he said, my mother was so true, so sure of myself, that I just couldn't disappoint. I just couldn't afford to disappoint her. He was so actually, mother-centric. And the guy who was actually branded adult by his own teacher became Thomas Edison. The life that actually we are actually here, we are enjoying the life, this actually we owe it to him. And Chanakya, you guys all know, we are actually sitting in the land of Chanakya, even though it is called now Jharkhand, but roughly this is the area that Chanakya lived, not exactly here. He was so mother-centric, so matrikendri, that when somebody actually predicted that you'll actually become big and you actually ignore your mother because somebody actually read his tooth, he immediately broke the wisdom tooth, saying that I do not want this. If I am going to ignore my mother, I don't want this. And he is one of the greatest statesmen the world has ever produced. And these are the three examples, like Arjuna, Hanuman, Narendra Datta, whom we actually know as Vivekananda, because they actually took the center to a higher ideal, supreme ideal, they actually became, famous. And when the famous are because they actually uplift themselves, that they could actually, the Hanuman actually literally he moved mountains. Vivekananda, Narendra, nobody was actually knowing, but when he addressed the congregations in Chicago, he moved the world. Everybody knows Vivekananda now, even though many of us actually do not know who Lord Ramakrishna is. So, anyways, I'm going to skip many of the slides now because I have to actually, conclude. But note that it's not that people do not have intelligence when they do not actually have ideals. Take the example of Hitler. Yes, very good intelligence. He could actually form an army that actually defeat many of the other armies. But what is the outcome? This is what happens. If you do not have an ideal, but you have still intelligence, it's not properly adjusted. Okay. So I am going to actually flash this slide, and I do not understand all the results of these scientific investigations, where, and these are actually in the last 5 years of research, okay, where people actually trying to find out that when people actually, do something, chant some mantra, or, practice some spirituality, are there really, seeable, visible impacts in our brain? People have actually made, this brain activity, and all of them actually saw these are actually scientific, even though the scientific research in this field, it's really at a very nascent stage. Okay, we really do not understand many of the things. Okay, but yet all of them actually saw which converge with all the teachings of the past prophets and the present prophet. Okay, so the question is now, who should be my ideal? Who should be my living ideal? Who should be my, supreme ideal? Who can actually give me anything that I want, I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to adjust my complexes so that I become a perfect, normal person. Okay? So, and we actually, after taking, getting initiated by Sree Sree Thakur, we came to know that Prophet Muhammad, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Chaitanya, Ramakrishna, they're actually all prophets. They come with the same purpose. And they are the source of the being and becoming of that time, of that age. Okay? But the present prophet is the Kohinoor of the past prophets. That means all the past prophets are actually consummated in the present prophet. I am going to skip this again. This is about the prophet of the time. And I'm going to actually stop here with this Vani of Sree Sree Thakur, that when somebody becomes ideal-centric, all the faculties bloom and glow. Sree Sree Thakur is one of the, the most incorrigible optimists that you can actually think of. He sees that, we have infinite abilities, capabilities. He's so optimist. He said, if there is a pot, if there is a hole, I'm going to actually pour water as long as that hole is actually not stopped or is actually not, filled up with slime and moss, and it can actually hold water. And that infinite possibilities is actually within each of us. And these are the innate instincts that will unfold when we actually place adherence to a living idea. So I'm going to say that we actually belong to someone who actually gave this satsang, and you can actually just have a read at it. And this is a community, this is a congregation, this is irrespective of any religion, because the religion and dharma, they are actually not the same, irrespective of community, religion, providence, province. And finally, the purpose actually to bring all of us to that one, to that supreme law, to that incarnate, to that living ideal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So from the audience, do we have any questions? Professor Mukhopadhyay, sir. Please pass on the mic to Professor Mukhopadhyay.
Where religion stands.
In fact, again, this is the explanation that Sree Thakur gives. Religion comes from two words. Re means again, and the word, the etymological, the word is actually lie here, to bind, to unite. That means when we actually burn and we actually go through activities that actually allow us, that enable us to reunite us with the living ideal, those are the processes of living, religion. So that means whether I observe so-called Hindu, Sree Thakur doesn't actually call Hindu religion because this is one of the views. They are all the same, because whether I'm observing Hindu view or the Mohammedan view or Christ views, eventually the goal is the same, that I want to actually rebind myself to the living ideal, even though the path could be a little different. So religion comes after, so this is the set of processes that, being born, go through the activities that will bring us closer to the, bind us to the ideal. So this is the religion. So in a way, they are not different, but they are not the same. So religion actually helps us actually to take to the life of being and becoming, and that is dharma.
Thank you, sir.
Small inquiry. Sir, there is a hot discussion now going on whether religion should be included in our curriculum or not. What may be our opinion in the house?
My answer would be this, that we have a lot in the curriculum, right? We have in the curriculum that, we should speak the truth. We should not lie. So Sree Sree Thakur said that mere enacting the rules or curriculum or the principles, that's not a solution. We should actually, for example, if you bring in a curriculum or any new law in our country today, who is going to obey it? Who is going to implement it? That would be one of us. That is one of us as an individual. So until we actually, Sree Sree Thakur talks about the 5 lives. And the first that we start with is the individual life. So who is going to study and follow or obey that curriculum? It is us, me as an individual. It is the individual that has to be formed, and so that I can actually, when I study it, I know actually how to implement it. I'm not saying that this should not actually be put into the curriculum, but does that serve the purpose? That's the question I'm asking. I support, in principle, yes, I support. Because anything that actually asks, helps us to actually know about the, principles of growth, life and growth, yes. But do I know actually how to implement it in my life? That's the bigger question that we are asking here.
So hope your query get clarified. So thank you, Professor Dalai, sir, from Department of Art Sciences, IISER Kolkata. So, sir, we have one question we received through QR code.
Not that I could actually. Did I put up? I have not touched this.
All right. Okay. How to balance personal values and professional responsibilities during conflicts, remaining coherent throughout word and accents. Word and accents. Coherent in thought, word and accents. Okay. So obviously, I am asking these questions from my perspective now, that I have a conflict while carrying out my responsibilities as whatever it is. But the whatever ways that we have talked about, okay? So if I actually implement that in my life, my perspective changes. I find, for example, let's say I'm a scholar, research scholar, and my professor wants me to study or be in the lab up to, let's say, 7, 8 p.m. in the night. And it's a professional responsibility, but it's creating a conflict with my life because I'm actually required to stay late till 8 o'clock in the night. And that's a conflict, right? That's the perspective that I'm at right now. But if I actually think that, well, there are several ways of looking at it. I'm not saying that, whatever I'm saying, that is the only way to actually look at it. There are several ways to look at this, this particular situation again. It could be that if I stay till 8 o'clock in the night, it is actually going to yield something that I really want. So do I want that? If I sincerely want that, I do not have a conflict, because then I realize I'm going to tell my professor, I'm going to stay till 8 o'clock in the night, I'm going to finish this job. Or there was a conflict because I couldn't convince my professor that why I should not actually stay up till 8 in the night. But if I actually reform myself, deal with the same situation again in a different way, maybe there is no conflict. So the answer is, it's very well, possible to bring in the balance while I'm actually carrying out my individual responsibilities, and I could actually still bring the balance between thought, word, and action, provided I'm actually adhered to a living ideal, a higher ideal.
Thank you, sir. So this was the only question we received through QR code. And thank you, sirs, for delivering such an insightful talk on the topic. And I would request the audience to please give a big round of applause for sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir.